Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video, and this is a paid request for Mike. Thank you so much for that. One of two requests. I'll get to the second one as soon as I can. Thank you so much. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, feel free to send it. Either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. I also do have a Cash App. All those links are down in the info box. I'll get to them as soon as I can. And for those who sent them, thank you. I really do appreciate it. Now, Silent Hill, it was interesting to get this request because I'm on this show called Dead Pit, Friday Night Lives, with Uncle Bill from Dead Pit, Stuntman Mark, and we were doing a show on disappointing films. And one of the ones I mentioned was Silent Hill. And then it's interesting I get this request and to rewatch it, because sometimes you rewatch a film, some films do get better, some way worse, some do, I would say a lot stay the same. This one, when I first saw it, I was a bit more positive back in the day. And then when I got because I saw this in the theater. But then when I saw it at home on DVD, I went, because the goggles, if people sincerely like the film, that's fine. But for me, the fancy goggles of, oh my god, that Easter egg, and oh, that was in the game, and that was in the game, and oh, that creature was in the game, and oh my god. When that went away, I'm sitting there going, well, as a few people put it, this felt like a half-assed attempt to adapt to the game with changes that are confusing and make you go, why did they change that? And why did they change that? And it's almost more infuriating because there are great visual moments. There's nice moments of camera work where the director Christophe Gans, who did Brotherhood of the Wolf and Crying Freeman, both having Mark Dacascos in it. I know he wants to do, he's actually making, he did make Return to Silent Hill, which will be out, I guess, next year, 2025. That's going to be based on Silent Hill 2, which I don't look forward to, based on this. And there was a trailer for that, and that film looked cheap. Like, this film at least doesn't look cheap. It looked like the budget, for the most part, in terms of the environments, in terms of the way the town looks, that does look pretty good. The practical effects, when they are featured, look pretty solid. The music, using the music from the games was a wonderful touch, because not every movie does that. A lot of video game movies don't do that, so that was really cool to see, or this case here. Little nuggets of Easter eggs. Oh, when she looks on this wall and it's a map, that looks like the map you look at when you're in the game. Oh, that there's something in the bathroom, and I remember in the game you're in the bathroom and you see someone tied up in this weird body strung up, and oh, when Radha Mitchell goes down and sees a table with a body on it and sees someone strung up, that's like when Harry Mason did it in the first game. So it's like those things that it's remind me of something I like, but when I rewatched it on DVD the first time, and then there's a few times I've rewatched this just to see if my opinion changes, I get more and more and more mad and more disappointed. Now, this is an Oscar contender when you compare it to Silent Hill Revelations 3D. Yes, of course. But in terms of entertainment, I enjoy, and Super Mario Bros. 1993, you just say it's not like the game, but to me there wasn't much of the games there where they're plumbers and they gotta go rescue the princess. And it's like weird stuff. How do you even make that into a movie? I just don't see how you make that into a movie unless you do the animated film, and I thought that was okay. But at least that on its own, I appreciate the creativity and the humor and some of the acting by Bob Hoskins and such. Sonic 1 and 2, they're not like the games, but I appreciate the acting on the voice actor of Sonic, and Jim Carrey was fun. Like, if it's not like the game, then there's other aspects I can enjoy enough for me to go, that was a fun movie. This, I'll give more detail in a bit and backtrack, start at the beginning. But not only are there annoying things about the changes, because Silent Hill is one of my favorite, perhaps would be my favorite video game franchise. Maybe that's also where I'm coming from. I like Mario, I like Sonic, I like some of these other games that became movies. Some good movies, some not so good movies. But Silent Hill was my favorite franchise. I loved the first game. I played that in the early 2000s. I remember my impressions as a kid or a teen being impressed by it. I love Silent Hill 2. Silent Hill 3 I haven't played as much as I should. So if I played it, it'd be like playing it for the first time because I know I should have played it more than I have. I do remember liking Part 4. I even remember not minding Homecoming despite its issues. Downpour, I only tried out but didn't get to play enough to make an opinion. I would like to play all those games again. I like to play all those games for the channel one day. Who knows? Maybe one day. Shattered Memories I never played, but I do have it on the modded PlayStation 3 because it has a lot of PS2 games. Never played Origins, but it's on there as well. Again, maybe one day. But yeah, the changes that as a nitpicking fan, it does bother me. Like, why did you do this? And why did you do that? It has some great environments, but it also has some pretty shoddy CGI that does not hold up well at all. And the pacing, it's over 2 hours long, and there are moments in this where it drags. It feels like it drags. And the acting, like Radha Mitchell is a good actress. I've liked her in other stuff. I don't think it's her acting, it's just the way, it might be the director and how he handles the actors, as well as the script by Roger Avary, who worked with Tarantino on films like Pulp Fiction, and whatever else. It just they came off as awkward. The dialogue, the conversations, the banter between characters, awkward. Awkward is the word I kept thinking of. Where like they're speaking to each other, but just, I don't know if it's a timing thing. I don't know if it's inflection of the voices, the editing. There's something about it just feels awkward. I know you make fun of acting in video games. That does not mean you need to replicate it for a movie. And the pacing dragged in this. But to go back to the beginning, because there's a lot I have to say about this, and I will. First and foremost, I don't like how, for, to me, not a good reason, they changed the main character. Like, they want to be the first Silent Hill game, but, number one, you add this brand new character that was never in the movies, was never in the games, called Rose, played by Radha Mitchell, who is a capable actress. Why is this person in the movie? Where's Harry Mason? And then there's this interview with Christophe Gans, which is the most befuddling, stupid things I've ever heard a director say. And I'm like, okay, if this is the guy's point of view, this is his line of thinking, no wonder for me this was doomed. Because I know people like this film. People have told me about how throughout the years this has got a cult following. Stream Factory has a new Blu-ray out. People think it's one of the best video game adaptations and movies. I don't agree. It's not the worst. Like, this is better than House of the Dead, Max Payne, Uncharted. It's better than a lot. But, again, that's why I'm not going to say this is the worst. It's, for me, this is the most disappointing. Like, Doom Annihilation is horrible. Way worse than this. But this is disappointing. But this is what Christophe Gans says. It quickly becomes clear, however, Harry Mason never acted like a masculine character. He was constantly dizzy, fainting, talking to himself, screaming, and in fact was very vulnerable. Let me step right there. I played Silent Hill a lot. Constantly dizzy? No. He was only dizzy when the world changed from day to night, from one world to another world. That has nothing to do with anything other than you're going from one world to the other. Fainting, I guess, again, the same to apply. Talking to himself, most video games have characters talk to themselves because they want them to verbalize something, and that's just a gameplay trope. There's a lot of characters that will talk to themselves. Screaming, I don't remember him screaming a whole lot. It was very vulnerable. I don't see what he's talking about. We didn't want to portray the nature of the game by changing the character's feelings and motivations, so we felt it was better to change a female protagonist to a female protagonist and retain all those important qualities. I don't want people to think I've been politically correct because we changed Sharon to Rose. There's no political correctness in Silent Hill. I remember there's another interview where he said it makes more sense for it to be a woman because it's about a woman trying to get their kid, and how it wouldn't be as comparable if it was a man looking for his daughter, because I guess dads don't give a shit about their daughters. And I guess Harry Mason was too feminine in the game. Well, if he's so feminine, he might as well be a lady. This is such asinine, stupid, dumb thinking. And I'm like, I gotta steal that. You know, and change the words a little bit. Anytime I want to change. You know what, Sonic? It should have been just a girl. Because, you know, keeps eating these weird food just like someone's pregnant. Man, might as well be a girl Sonic who's on menopause. Has sass and attitude. I better cast, I don't know, Brandy. Brandy as Sonic. Her name would be Sandy. Sandy the Hedgehog. Only worded in a much more eloquent fashion. It's stupid. It's stupid. That's what I mean. Changes like that. So let's not have the character from the game. Let's not have it be a guy be the lead. Let's have it be this lady for ridiculous, dumb reasons. That doesn't make any sense. I'm like, that character wasn't that way in the game. I played the game many times. Dizzy, you made it seem like he dizzy and fainting every 5 minutes. So there's no Harry Mason, because the director's an idiot. And then for some reason the daughter character is not Cheryl anymore, it's Sharon. And I'm like, why change it? Just because, I guess. That's, I mean, a lot of these like little changes for no reason. Like, what's wrong with the name Cheryl? Okay, guess her name's Sharon now. The acting, for the most part, does not feel natural from almost anybody. Especially that kid. I'm sorry I'm picking on a kid, folks. But her acting, I did not care for. She never came off as natural. Not as the good girl Sharon. Not as the evil version Alessa. Oh, look at me. I'm burning. Or her and her mom doing a meow off. Meow, 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 meow. Are you doing a commercial for Meow Mix? Is that what you're doing? I'm sorry, if I see, I don't care if it's a mom or daughter, if you're doing the meow, 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 I'd be like, what a bunch of weirdos. That girl's crazy. Just sounded stupid and goofy and silly. And each time this girl talks, what, mommy? What's going on, mommy? It never felt natural. I did not think her acting was that good. You also have Sean Bean which I've nicknamed Sean the Beanie Baby, because for a time he was everywhere. He was in the Hitcher remake, which I despise. He was in this film. From what I understand, when they had the original script, there was no men in the movie. Which is true of when you're in town. There's not really any major men characters. There's like some in the background of the cult, but there's Radha Mitchell, there's Sybil the cop, there's a little girl, there's this young cult worshiper named Anna, there's the mom, Dahlia, who that character was in the game, and then there's Christabella, who's the leader of this cult. So the opposite of a sausage fest. It was a fish fest. It was the fish market. And I guess someone said, you need some men in here. So they wrote this in. And you could tell this is written after the fact half-assly, because Sean Bean, when these characters disappear, his whole subplot is pointless. I'll get to that in a minute. So the little girl, Sharon, is having these visions. Keeps mentioning about Silent Hill. With her awkward acting. Silent Hill! And Radha Mitchell, as Rose, is going to go to Silent Hill. Regardless what Sean Bean says. They get to a gas station. Sybil, played by, and I want to get her name, Laurie Holden. And maybe I knew this before, but if I didn't, I feel like an idiot. I'm like, this girl looks so familiar. Again, I'm sure I knew this before, but when I looked her up, I'm like, oh my god. I'm a big X-Files fan, and I'm like, it's Marita Covarrubias, one of the informants. Right now, it's popular as Deep Throat and X, but Marita Covarrubias. I swear, it's like, I must have known before, but that's her? Oh, shit. And honestly, I didn't mind her. Yes, there's some awkwardness, but I probably liked her the most in the movie. Maybe because at times she was a badass, she actually did stuff. Sometimes stupid stuff, because the script said, but I actually liked her more than the lead character, Rose. I wish Sybil was the lead. She knows that something's up. She follows him. And this is what I mean. Like, when I first saw it, oh, it's like the game. The cop is on the motorcycle, and the lead character has the girl, and she's got her drawings, and she's sleeping. There's the ghost in the road, swerve, crash, wakes up, come to Silent Hill, the stuff falling from the sky. And that's what I mean. So I would assume that's why there's a lot of fans of the movie, because there's stuff compared to other video game adaptations that they do stick a lot of visuals from the game, and they like seeing that presented on film. And I can understand that. And that's really that, and the fact they have the music from the game in the movies, which is a fantastic soundtrack on it in itself, puts it above, like I said, Uwe Boll films, House of the Dead, Alone in the Dark, Far Cry, films like Max Payne, films like Doom Annihilation, hell, Borderlands. I would say Borderlands is worse than this as a film. But again, I said it's not the worst film of a video game movie, but for me it's the most disappointing. Because you have the budget and you have the means to make it look like this, but why is the acting, the dialogue exchanges seem so awkward? Why are you want to be adapting the first game, but then you're adding these monsters from Silent Hill 2 just because. You're changing characters and character names and complete new lead characters just because, for to be inane reasons. You're like in the game, what's fallen is snow, but here you want to make it ash. They even say in the first game, man, it's snowing this time of year. And that's the thing with the game, is that one of the pressing matters for me, not just with the lead, but in the characters, the dialogue. This film has no atmosphere. And that's a crime. That's a crime. That's a crying shame. People go, what do you mean it has no atmosphere? When you play the game, you never have a concrete depth perception. It's always hindered. It's either foggy, so you can't see what's in front of you. There's monsters in the daytime, you'll hear something, but you can't see it until it gets close enough. And that's where you get fear, that's where you get suspense, and they never did that. There's monsters in the first game that they don't put into the movie. They don't put like the Daws, the winged creatures, none of the boss characters. No, they take Silent Hill 1 and then they put pretty much all the monsters of Silent Hill 2 in there. Which I'll get to that. But the idea of like you're in the daytime but it's foggy, you can't tell where something's at, and you hear stuff. And you hope they don't come for you. There's a lot of suspense you build from that. Same with the darkness. When it gets dark, it'll always be too brightly lit. When Radha Mitchell early on crash, awake, sees of this ash, looks around town, goes down this alley, where again, there's some nice camera work. They take a shot from the game. When Harry goes down, the camera will follow him, go down here, but then the one shot then go back up as they're walking away. The director recreates that shot. That was really cool. But then she'll get her lighter out once the siren and everything's dark. But all she has is a lighter, but everything's so light, still so brightly lit. Where even though it's a lighter, I can see over here, I can see over here, I can see her whole body. And I'm sitting there going, imagine other movies you've seen where everything's dark and it's just someone with a lighter. Imagine The Descent. If you watch The Descent and how dark it could be and how, like you could have that, but there wouldn't be much lighting around. But here, because everything's so brightly lit, you never get that impending sense of creep atmosphere factor. Even when they're in the school, they're in the hospital, everything is so nicely lit to be slick looking, to look pretty. But because it looks so pretty, it never looks scary. It never looks creepy. It loses that grit, raw, disturbing factor that I remember feeling when I first played Silent Hill 1, and you just have the lighter and you could barely see anything, and you bump, what the hell, that's a table? And then you see something and you'll turn, oh my god, there's a creature there and it's attacking your leg, and you never get that sense, you never get that feeling. You can't. Because it's made to look nice looking. A never gritty, creepy atmosphere feeling. And that was a big mistake the director had. And if he couldn't do it for this, he's not going to do it for his new film. Just lit too bright, where you see more of the area when you shouldn't. Should be much more claustrophobic. That's the thing. Even when you just have the flashlight and you're in the school in the game, it's still claustrophobic. Like there are times you walk outside to there's a like a yard, and you just hear these creepy sound effects, but you can't see far away, and then you'll see them coming out of the darkness, slowly approaching you. That's where you go, ooh, the creep factor. This has none of that. And hell, a lot of it takes place during the day anyway. And then when they do have CGI creatures, this is 2006, they don't look that good. The little creatures she sees, they look awful. They look goofy and silly. Where their faces are for some reason like going over here, and then they're going over here, and it's like they're made of fire at one point. Like they're... I'm like, why? There were little creatures in the first game, but they look more like kids. Or like deformed kids. And that they didn't do that. It's just for some reason they made these things which look ugly, goofy, silly, not creepy, and not scary. Just look god awful. And then they try to be funny when she gets out of it, and the first thing is she hears Johnny Cash, "But in ring of fire, we're down, 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 but in ring of fire." I'm like, yeah, I did ya, movie, I did ya. But it's like, no subtlety at all. So while she's searching for her daughter, and we meet Dahlia, which they change her character from the game, where this, she's much more of like just a pathetic, look like a homeless bum that people kick around. And the actress, Deborah Unger, I liked her in the game with Michael Douglas. I liked her in Payback with Mel Gibson. She was in Highlander 3. She doesn't have a whole lot to do in this. Meet Sybil. She doesn't know what's going on, so okay, you're crazy lady, let me arrest you. And that's where you start having these creatures from Silent Hill 2, and I'm sitting there going, Christophe, you want to talk about how much you love Silent Hill 1? There's a multitude of creatures in Silent Hill 1, but you don't want to use any of them. Except those little creatures that look ugly, and even then they didn't look like the creatures really in the game. So you want to have the ones that are doing like this from Silent Hill 2, you put it in this. You have Pyramid Head, which you put in this. Even the nurses, they don't look like the nurses you see in Silent Hill 1. They look like the nurses you see in Silent Hill 2. And let me go off on that. The reason those creatures existed in Silent Hill 2 was for a fundamental reason. That yes, it's not as approached as much in the first game, but in the second game, the very interesting point is whoever goes into Silent Hill, they bring their own inner demons with them, so the monsters you see are kind of appropriate to your psyche. So James, the character in Silent Hill 2, the reason he sees, for example, those creatures wrapped up, it's kind of like his tightening guilt for what has transpired, wanting to break free, among other things you can relate to the character, where it seems like any minute now this character deserves to be in a straitjacket. The sexy nurses are that way because of James' lustful thoughts, because, spoiler alert for the game, in Silent Hill 2, you find out that James, spoiler, murdered his wife. His wife was sick, horribly sick, became angry, violent, hostile, and then whether James did because he wanted to end her suffering, but then also part of him was like, I can't deal with this anymore. And that guilt, and obviously when he's going through all this trial, before he does that, he couldn't have sex with her because this went on for years. So he probably had lustful thoughts and maybe, hey, maybe I get a hooker here, maybe I'll get a hooker there, I don't know, maybe. So that's what those nurses represent. And then Pyramid Head was his punishment. Him wanting to punish himself for the crime he committed. And the deep down himself, that his punishment is represented as Pyramid Head. The evil part of James that wanted to you know what, I'm tired of this woman who's broken as shit. I want to fuck. So let me, thus Pyramid Head is screwing some mannequins that look like women, and it's the violent, lustful, angry, horrible thoughts. Because Silent Hill brings the worst inner demons in you to a physical manifestation. Apparently the director did not understand any of that and said, hey, people recognize them, just put them here. Which I'm like, then what the hell you don't do in the movie? You just don't have the same creatures you already spoiled in this movie? You dummy. And it's weird because there's so many other creatures in the first game. Like I said, the flying creatures, the dog creatures, the multiple bosses you fight, whether in the school or there's a flying insect thing. There's all these monsters you can battle, and you don't put any of it in it. And then they change the story. They change, because Dahlia is not really a bad guy, where she was a villain in the game, but not really in this. And then another thing is, I mentioned how the game worked because of the lack of depth perception, where you can never see anything clearly. It's either too dark, too foggy, too snowy. Well, here, even during the daytime, you do see a hell of a lot. In the dark, they lit it so brightly, you see a hell of a lot. So that's gone. That's lacking. Another thing is, in the game, you felt isolated. You felt alone. Because you only met 3 people. You met the nurse, the doctor guy, I always forget his name, Kaufman, and Dahlia. Well, Sybil. Count that. Sybil 4. Sybil. But for so much of the game, you're by yourself. So that sense of isolation, no one is around to help you. That makes it seem more scary. That you're in this ghost town seemingly by yourself. For the most part, by yourself. Or if you meet someone, there's not many others to help you. So now it feels like you're outnumbered, you're outgunned, you're alone. That hopefully makes it a scarier situation. When Radha Mitchell meets Laurie Holden, Rose meets Sybil, one of the creatures of Silent Hill 2 comes by, Sybil shoots it, which is laughable because you can see this is an inhuman creature, and she's like, hold it! Stay there, hold it. I'm like, do you see, does it look human to you? Do you think it's Happy Halloween and they just got an insane costume? What the hell do you think that is? You better freeze. Takes forever to shoot. And then, what's funny is, she's handcuffed, Radha Mitchell. And while this cop kills the creature, has a gun, Rose leaves her. You left the cop who could take the handcuffs off and who has a gun that could protect you, help you out. But you decide to run away because yes, there's creatures coming, but they're far away and over the fence. And I don't think she knew that. Sybil sees it later. Which is funny, they bring that up, but then those creatures never come back in the game. I mean, in the movie. I keep saying that. So it's two things. Number one, why the hell does a woman with handcuffs on that's behind her back run away from the cop that could uncuff her and has a gun to protect her and just runs off with no protection, still handcuffs behind her back? And of course, it's a movie, so she finds a way to get it under her ass to get the handcuffs. And number two, why did they bring up the idea that there's all these creatures and you never see them again throughout the rest of the movie? They never pop up again. And again, each time the acting is awkward. I don't know if it's the writing. I don't know if it's the way they're directed. What it is. Now, this is where she ended Sean the Beanie Baby. Sean Bean, his wife, his daughter are missing. He goes to Sound Hill. There's a blockade. Tim Coates, who's a good character actor, meets him. Hey, I got a deputy missing, which is Sybil. Let's go to Sound Hill together. Now, when they get there, it's completely different. Because they're in the real world, and these characters are in the other world, however you want to put it. Every scene with Sean Bean and Tim Coates are completely unneeded, pointless, with forced exposition. And you could tell they were told to add this in. They added it after the fact, of the script at least, and said, well, we don't, what else they don't do? I guess explain the plot more. This is what the town is. This is what happened to the town. None of this was interesting. And it leads to nowhere. Doesn't lead to Sean Bean finding something to get his wife and kid out, or finding a secret to get into Sound Hill. It leads to nothing. It's completely pointless. And it's information you either know about or you don't give a shit about. And adding those scenes in led it to over 2 hours of a running time. And then we go back to Radha Mitchell, and she's doing stuff in the school. And the lack of isolation, where there's multiple people there, and there's all these cult members there, and there's this new character named Christabella, and this Tanya Allen as Anna is the worst actor in the movie. She's absolutely god-awful. Her acting, her dialogue delivery, the way she was directed, whatever the case it was, it made it seem like Tanya Allen was the worst actress in the movie. Bar none. It annoyed me. I think even when I first saw this in the theater, I went, what? Who are all these people? Who's this cult? What? You just say there was a cult in the first game, but there's much more. Not in the back, but it was like 50 people who happened to live in this damn town. So that idea of being isolated and also not being able to explore the whole town. Where if, in the first game you explore the whole town, and yeah, you're in the school, then you're in the hospital, then you're in the sewers, then you're in this shop, and you find this hidden room, and what the hell's going on? And there's no sense of like mystery. It doesn't allow you to figure stuff out on your own. There's literally a point that the movie literally stops for the little girl to give you, hey, dumb fuck, this is what's happening. Type of thing. And just so much of it, even watching it again, it just annoyed me more and more. Pyramid Head showing up annoyed me. Because I know what he represents and he should not be in this game. In this movie. God, he fucking it up. That annoyed me. Having like 80 people in this town annoyed me. The CGI with the little bugs, which there were bugs you could step on in the game, but the way they looked, and they looked so awful, that annoyed me. See, having to talk with these cult members annoyed me. Anna annoyed me. If she has faith, she might survive. It's a symbol of our unity. Symbol of our faith. It's a symbol of your acting being shit. God, she just her dialogue, it was so damn awful and unnatural. Like everybody, no one acts naturally. I like it when there's a scene in an elevator where Sybil and Rose almost get killed by Pyramid Head, and then things change. And when Sybil comes out, she's like, what the fuck? I remember the audience laughed at that, the way she said that. Now, maybe they're laughing because it was a... That might have been the one natural reaction someone had. What the fuck? Part of me thinks that's why they laughed, but... What the fuck? At least to me, that was the most natural reaction someone had. But then it's Rose telling the cop, hey, everything's going to be alright. I'm like, shouldn't it be the cop telling her everything's going to be alright? And again, you have all these cult members. This is when the movie really dragged. Talking with the cult members. Finding Alessa. Look at me, I'm burning. Burn your acting card, lady. I know she would also be in Uwe Boll's film Seed. I think she was in Cabin in the Woods as well. And, I mean, recognizable actresses. I mentioned Radha Mitchell. I mentioned Deborah Unger. Alice Krige, who is the board queen in Star Trek First Contact. She plays the head of the cult Christabella. And other scenes that happen. They have to get into the church. Pyramid Head kills the Anna girl. Decent gore bit. Takes her skin and rips it off to show how much of a threat he is. But the fact, you have that, you give him that big damn sword, knife. You don't have him cut anybody with it. Cut someone in half, either way, stab them. I guess apparently the original ending, it was supposed to be like a ton of Pyramid Heads come out and kill everybody. But they couldn't afford that, so they have the wannabe Hellraiser bit. So Sybil and Rose get to the church. They talk to the cult. They say, we'll help you. Here's the hospital. They know where it's at. So apparently all these people have never tried one damn time all these years to go for that. That could end their... Because the idea is that they're trapped. They've been trapped here from the 70s because of that girl, and some of them don't accept it, and blah, blah, blah. Some of them, I just don't even realize what the hell's going on. But anyway. Rose, for some reason, thinks she has to memorize where to go. I'm like, why don't you just take the damn map? It's on a wall. Let me borrow this. You take the damn thing, then you follow it. Why does she have to memorize it? Just break the damn thing and take it. Or, it's a town. I think there's a pen and paper somewhere that you can write the shit down. You tell me this entire town there ain't a pen and a piece of paper to write down so you don't have to try to memorize it. And the cult's cool with them until they find out, conveniently enough, well, Oh, by the way, here's your necklace, and thankfully it's open so I could see the little girl. That's like Alyssa, and need to kill you. Sybil gets to kick a little bit of ass, which is cool. Has her heroic moment. Save her. Gets Rose to the elevator. And then again, even Sybil they treat like shit. She gets her ass kicked. At least she did put up a bit of a fight. Then she's roasted like a marshmallow trying to make some s'mores. I'm like, come on. Like, Sybil, especially you get the good ending, was treated better than that. And then it's Rose going around, and all it is a hallway of nurses trying to do the Thriller music video. If you don't believe me, watch that scene again and play Thriller with Michael Jackson. I did try it next time. It works. And apparently they're the nurses. They look like the nurses of Silent Hill 2. So not like the nurses of Silent Hill 1. Which I believe the reason they look like them in Silent Hill 1... Well, they're similar to the nurse that you talk to and part of the hospital that... fuck it. If Christophe Gans don't care, why am I trying to explain it? If he don't care. And then she pretty much goes through the nurses, and apparently the nurses are blind, and they'll accidentally kill each other. I don't understand like how all these people did not try to kill these things before. They got these like big guys with these hazmat looking suits and hammers and shit. You have like 50 people here. But you could literally just lead them out one at a time and kill them all. Like, you could take care of that just like that. So, I don't know. All these years you have like 100 people, but you can't take care of these nurses, but she's able by herself to get through these nurses. And that's all she goes through. It's not this big juggernaut of events, just this one thing she goes through. And she gets to the end, and then for some reason she's like this, in white light. It was like, you won the game. Now here's the, end credit cutscene to explain what's going on. Info dump. So I'm going to explain for fucking 3 minutes what happened. Was what happens. Hey, dumbass. In case you didn't get it, this is what's going on. Long story short, was too late. It's already 48 minutes long. But I'm passionate about this. The little girl back in the day was sexually assaulted by a janitor. He was the guy who was in the bathroom all mangled up with barbed wire. Townsfolk was very, very religious. So the mother, Dahlia, without really wanting to, was kind of forced into letting the kid be with this cult. The cult had their ways of dealing with things. So they talk about how, we need to get this evil out of her, blah, blah, blah. So they pretty much burn the hell out of her. Immolate her, I think is the term. She's in such pain, and some other stuff is going on. Not to get into more details. She gets split. There's 3 versions of her. There's the one still in bed, all covered with burns. There's the evil part, Alessa, that's kind of put people in this purgatory, trapped. And then there's the good girl, the good version that was able to escape the world, given to an orphanage, and Radha Mitchell and Sean Bean picked her up. And it became Sharon. The evil persona goes into Radha Mitchell. She comes back, finds Sybil dead. They stab her. The blood and stuff comes out. The evil Alessa comes out. And then that's where you get the actual girl in her bed coming out and shooting all this CGI barbed wire as if she's Pinhead in Hellraiser, and people getting ripped apart, and it's pretty violent. I mean, Alice Krige is lifted up and the barbed wire goes up her snatch, out of her stomach, out of her mouth, ripped apart. Pretty violent, I'd give you that. Very, very CGI though. But as I'm watching this, I'm going, this isn't Silent Hill. This is like a weird Hellraiser movie. But this ain't Silent Hill. That's the thing. I'm like, this ain't Silent Hill anymore, dude. What the hell is this? And the cult members get killed. You get the idea that the evil version possessed Sharon. So then when Radha Mitchell and her go home, but they're still in the other world. So Sean Bean wakes up and sees his door open. So technically, he's in the real world, they're in the other world. They're in the same house, but in two different dimensions. And that's how it ends. But then, when they made the sequel, somehow the girl is out of the dimension world and is in the real world, and it's not the evil version of her controlling. It is the good version. I'm like, did they not watch the ending of this, or like they try to explain it, but they don't explain a whole lot of it. And what's funny, the end of that was like Sean Bean, I gotta go get your mother, and then you. Because that movie was even worse and bombed even worse. No more sequels for you. But instead, now he's gonna ruin Silent Hill 2, this director. That's why I taught for like an hour, as you could see, because there's so much of this that's just frustrating to watch. It's like you could have gotten it, but you missed it. Like I said, look at, and it clicked for me, watch it here. The scene where she's in the bathroom, she finds the dead body, gets like a note from it, which is like in its mouth. Then things change. Where you see the world literally dematerialize into the dark world. But again, it's still so brightly lit that you see, decent, makeup, but you can still see the creature, the human who's all bound up in all its glory, and for some reason doing the stupid which looked more silly and looked more stupid. You doing, that's not scary. In real life it would be, because I'm like, you get near, I'm going to punch you in the face. You don't lick my ass. That's the only thing you don't lick. It's going to be my ass. I haven't showered yet. Leave me the hell alone. But that right there showed, okay, that could have been atmospheric or creepy if you don't have the guy doing it. Have it lit darker. Have it be more atmospheric. Try to be creepier. Have it be like there's barely any lights, but you only have this one flashlight. And where is this thing? Okay, it's there, but you can't see it too clearly. You see little snippets, and your mind imagines the rest. And it's sound, and it's tension, and suspense. And the director had none of that. That was not in his wheelhouse. It's also funny how this is based on the first Silent Hill game, but they use music from like all the games. Like there was music from Silent Hill 4 when she's looking at the bus stop signs to go where the school's at. And you hear that. I'm like, that's from Silent Hill 4. I love that piece of music, but it's like, do you recognize this? Do you recognize that? You recognize this? Yeah. I don't want to say it's just Easter eggs, but like you recognize, yeah, ooh, wow. I recognize something from something I liked. But as a whole, it's disappointing, it's frustrating. Like I said, the acting, the character interactions were not as awkward and unnatural. That the pacing was faster. Take out all the Sean Bean stuff. Have creatures from the first game, like that you're basing it on. Have it be isolated. Have it be atmospheric. Have it be creepy, like the game was. I remember in the game, multiple moments you could have recreated. The moment where the phone is ringing at the school. And like, what the hell? Who's calling? Because at that point, the only person you know in the town is Sybil and your daughter. And you hear your daughter screaming for help. And then the phone goes dead. And there's this silent beat. What the hell? Or there's a bit you're going down these stairs. This is later on in the game. And there's a wall of TVs, and you turn, and all the wall TVs show your daughter looking like she's tied up, crying for her dad. That's a creepy notion. You do none of that in the movie. And it's there for you. I don't understand. I don't get it. But I know I make these long reviews. I wonder if anyone actually watches these all the way through to hear all these points, but oh well. Sorry I went on for so long, but I had to get that out of my basement. So thank you, Mike, for that. I think the other request he had was Blood Dolls. I'll get to that in a while. But thank you for that. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye for now.